All right, good morning. I don't know who is here yet. We've got a couple people that are viewing. Make sure you say hello, hit that like button, get it out there. I just want to jump on again this morning. We had a lot of fun yesterday with everybody that was joining in. We had a few people joining live, and I know from the comments on the last video, a couple people have caught the replay, but it's always more fun to talk of things live. So the topic of today, what goes up must come down. I guess that's the way of the market. We had a good couple days, so not gonna, as you know, if you're following along me on the channel, it's not going to sweat the small stuff. So I figured I'd jump on. Just thank everybody who joined yesterday. It was a great conversation. Hopefully we can get it going again today. Not anything in particular planned on these topics. It's just nice to have a coffee. It's the morning. It's still early. Read a little bit of news, and I will. I'll pop in one that kind of grabbed my attention. Let me just share my screen here, and I will pull that up. My go-to is Yahoo Finance is what I always kind of pick up and read in the morning, because I have the app. I usually use the app, but obviously to share it online is the bit easier than seeing the screen. Canadians can. This is now I have to do a bit of research to figure out who this actual personal finance website finder is. I've never heard of them, but again, it's a poll, so take it with a grain of salt as always. But it says Canadians considering selling their investments by the survey. So about a quarter of Canadians are considering selling their investments as volatility rocked the global stock market. So I find that interesting because the worst time to obviously sell things is when they're down. But I guess my question would be, what are they putting their money into the stock market when they know it can be potentially volatile? We had a interesting last couple of years, right? Canadian investors, so growing frustrated. TSX is down 9%, S&P down 21%. As you know, you can look, I look at my portfolio. My portfolio is not down 21%, thankfully. It's down close to that though, if you look at the big picture. But yeah, and it's lower and middle income households. So obviously, I think basically what they're doing is everybody's starting to feel the pinch out there with rising rates. So if you've taken on, it was a good past 2 years, right? Lots of savings. We just didn't have anything. Everything closed down. Nowhere to spend our money as much, and people took on other debts with new cars and that kind of stuff. You read about it in the news with car payments, and even when interest rates were good, car payments were high, and all of a sudden rates start going up on your other things like a line of credit or a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. And food prices, inflation, I guess it just starts to obviously pinch the lower income and middle income people. So they have to cash out their investments, which isn't great because you are losing money. It doesn't feel good to have to sell something when it's down, especially when you have to make ends meet, which is tough. And I know it's expensive out there. Like, I don't know, we can get sidetracked onto talking about inflation. And like, I was just doing I'm a big curbside grocery pickup person. I started doing that when we kind of had to, and then I realized it's such a time-saving thing. And I've saved, you can actually save a lot of money, but you start to realize, like, I was doing an online order today to do pickup later on this afternoon, and like the prices of stuff, if you actually look back on what you paid 6 months ago, a year ago on something. And it's interesting how, for me, I can say it shifted my habits in terms of eating, for sure, because you start to look at different things that are possibly cheaper, right? Like, I'm not a big meat eater, but like cheaper cuts of meat or that kind of stuff. But what I noticed today, especially on there, was the cost of butter. And someone had my friend had sent me a DM, because they know I like butter, but sent me a link and said, because it was on sale somewhere, right? And then I looked today because I had to buy more butter, and it was like $6.50 for a pound of butter. And I'm like, I don't need butter that bad, so I'll put olive oil on my popcorn instead of butter. That's just me, but I think everybody's starting to maybe feel the pinch and looking at different things. I'm on Twitter quite a bit, and a lot of people are kind of adjusting you can see it adjusting their habits and spending, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's nothing wrong with saving some money. And I think of it as, if I can save, X amount of dollars here, I can put that into my TFSA, and that's just kind of how I do it. So that was what jumped out at me at the news today. So I don't know if anybody has any comments, and then watching, it's nice to have some feedback. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you are adjusting your habits in any way. With the curbside thing, I work from home, and I find it so convenient because you can have it on the app, and you just add in things you need, and when you're going for groceries, you basically are getting basically almost the same thing on your weekly list, right? That you eat all the time. I find it so handy and fast, because I don't have to spend time. I mean, you have to drive to the store anyways, but I don't have to spend the time now walking up and down the aisles, grabbing the things. But then you also don't have the temptation, right? All those aisles with all the stuff that catches your eye that you wouldn't normally buy, hits your pocketbook. So I definitely think I've saved some money by doing curbside as well, because you can definitely be a bit more cognizant of what you buy. And also too, I've noticed, I mean, I usually I'm on the West Coast, so Superstore is what's here. Loblaws, they seem to be the best place, and they have the best app to order online. But you can check, it's so easy to check the prices, right? When something's running low, you can just check the price, add it to your cart if you're going to need it. But then what I've noticed too is I'm a big coffee drinker, as people know. And when I'm looking for coffee, there's a brand I like, and I can usually find it on Amazon for sometimes half the price of what it's at the store. Like, I was looking today for the coffee, and it's expensive for a pound. Like sometimes at the store, it's like $18 for Kicking Horse coffee, and I like it. And you can sometimes go on Amazon and get it for $10.99, sometimes even $9.99 on there. So same thing. And it gets delivered to your door. So it's just kind of a time saver. That's what I find. And then it saves your time. It's perfect. Works for me. So, but on to selling your investments. Is anybody having to sell? Like, has anybody considered selling? I guess, I mean, there's obviously, if it's a non-registered, like not a TFSA, you can do some tax loss harvesting. I mean, that would make sense. So I'm hoping that maybe these people that are selling their investments there's some little advantage to it. Maybe if you're having to sell, especially if it's down, maybe they weren't registered, but it's hard to know. Obviously, they didn't get into that probably in the survey. It's just kind of cashing in investments, and especially if it's like the problem too is if it's in your RRSP and you're taking it out, you're getting hit with taxes, and you're down on your investment possibly. So it's like double whammy, which is hard. So I guess it just goes to show, like, don't put too much in your investments. If it's something's good to have cash, savings, rainy day fund in your bank account, especially now that the bank accounts are paying a little bit more interest. I mean, it's not super great, but at least it's not locking money away, So that jumped out at me. I guess the other thing, which is the news, is I mean, I am a big Twitter person, but Elon Musk buying Twitter, he'll be all over. And if anybody who's watching the channel has any Twitter stock, you did well yesterday, because it is. Let's pull that up. So yeah, Elon buys Twitter. If you had that in your stock portfolio, you did pretty good yesterday. It's something I looked at a long time ago, but never. It's all these things in hindsight, right? But so he's buying Twitter. It'll be interesting to see what he does with it. He's maybe got some ideas. I've read a few things on even turning it into because he ran or did the startup with PayPal, right? And if I've been reading a few kind of what he's going to be doing with Twitter. I mean, possibly working it into a payment processing platform as well again, which would be interesting to see if there's anything happening with that in terms of how he is going to monetize the platform a bit more, maybe get rid of some, hopefully less ads. That's the problem with all these social media things. It's like a lot of, like, way too many ads sometimes. But it'd be interesting to see if they work something in there. I know he's buddies with what's his name that used to own and start up Twitter, Jack Dorsey, and Jack's big on Bitcoin and Lightning Network, and so there might be some kind of interesting things happening with the Twitter in the next little bit. I've been on there for a while. I'm more of a lurker on there, but it's a great source of news. So if you're not on Twitter and not you don't have to necessarily push anything out there, but it's a great source for really up to date news. I find it's a great platform for that. So, and there we go. One sec here. I'm just searching for another article that I picked up. Let's see if I can find it again. It's on Yahoo News, my favorite, but it's sometimes the app I find shows differently sometimes than the, here it is. So other Canadian news, HFCC is looking to possibly sell their Canadian side of the business, which I find was kind of interesting. And there's some speculation all over Twitter yesterday of who's going to buy it. So I don't know if you have some comments, if you even saw that. I don't know if most people are paying attention to that, but that was kind of interesting. They're maybe going to be spinning that off, considering selling it to whoever. I don't know. I guess one of the big five, big six banks are going to be purchasing that. I know the last kind of one that happened in Canada was when ING Direct was sold to Scotiabank and became Tangerine. That had to be close to 10 years, maybe just under 10 years ago now, 8 or 9 years ago, maybe. So we'll see what happens. Who will want to maybe snap that up? It's hard to say. I know that they have really good, you see a lot of marketing for them and a lot of really good, HSBC is really out there with the mortgage rates that you see advertised, for what it's worth. So we'll see. And I was trying to get my friend Rob to come on the stream again, but he hasn't been feeling well. So he wasn't feeling well. So I messaged him again this morning to see if he's feeling better, but we'll see if he wants to be able to jump on. I don't know. Still not sick. That's it. No comments today. There's people watching, but hey, ask questions, ask away. This is what this is for. In terms of my portfolio today, I mean, I can definitely kind of look and see the market in general is down. So that means my portfolio is going to be down. I haven't, I've looked and haven't looked. Yeah, everything is red today except my Greenlane Renewables is up today. So we'll see. There we go. At least there's one thing in the green. It always kind of helps. But I know, hey, we got to just roll with it. We had a good couple days. So it was funny. I started looking at yesterday because we were talking on the stream yesterday about Shopify and how I don't own Shopify. I just never really had any interest in it. And, I thought wasn't a stock for me to invest in. And then sure enough, yesterday, I think it was up about 12%. So I know Candace from Mountain Finance. I remember watching one of her videos and she bought some, I think it's a couple weeks ago. So she's done well over the last couple of weeks. Maybe check out her channel if you're looking for tips rather than mine. But she'll have done well on that. I don't know if she sold it or what she's done, but I saw that yesterday. I think if I had bought something a couple weeks ago and I was up 12%, and I probably would I'm learning that slowly. I probably would just, especially with something that I would maybe it's not a long-term, like something like Shopify if I was buying that, I would probably cut it and take my money and run, I think. But again, hindsight is always easier to say that than when you don't own it and don't have to worry about it. So if I would have bought it, it would have gone down 12%. But that was one thing that caught my eye yesterday. Especially, it was funny because after we were basically talking about it. I guess one other piece of this is what I saw too. I was talking about this on a live stream as well with someone else, and this is interesting. I know. there's these new rules coming out with credit cards. I'd love to know people's thoughts on this one, because I had a notice from Telus, and I invest in Telus. So I guess it works both ways. I mean, I have my phone, I have my internet with Telus, but they're going to start charging. Telus is going to start charging because these new rules. But I guess other merchants are starting to think about ways of charging surcharges on credit card transactions to offset the fees, and because the fees on credit cards for merchants are a lot, and it's, of course, when everything's getting pinched, right? Everybody wants to cut, and if your profit is your profit percentages matter at the bottom line. And so Telus is going to start, I believe it was 2%. They want to start charging people with credit cards. No, 1.5. I could be wrong. I'd have to pull that up. They did send an email, but it looks like other places are going to be doing surcharges, which isn't that great. I mean, I'll definitely change I'll change my credit card spending habits. Now, what I do now, because I mean, like I said before, I do the curbside pickup and everything else that gets charged by credit card. But on that flip side, it's a credit card that pays me 2% on groceries. It pays me 2% cash back. So if they're charging me 1%, and also on recurring bills, so for like a Telus bill, if they're charging me 1.5%, I get 2% cash back. So that'll offset that. But I will definitely look, and I don't use my credit card a lot for day-to-day stuff, so it's not going to necessarily impact me that much, unless for some reason something doesn't, my debit card doesn't work, something like that. But I usually use for my day-to-day, like if I'm going out to buy gas or like that kind of stuff, I use my Shakepay card on the app, so you can tap it. So I just load that with them, and then you get percentage back in Bitcoin with Shakepay. So that's how I do my day-to-day. But it's also it's a Visa debit card, but it's a prepaid one. So you transfer money on there, and you know how much money you're spending. You're paying attention to what you're actually buying. So I use that for my like day-to-day if I'm out having to spend on something, right? But I will definitely look at credit card stuff, because if I'm shopping, if I'm shopping on, say, Amazon, and they're going to ding me 2%, that's going to impact how I pay for things, or how much, So it's interesting to see how that would happen going forward. And there's, it's just another charge, which kind of stinks, because everything, especially if you carry a balance on your credit card, that can start adding up, right? You're paying an extra 1.5% on your purchase, plus you're paying, if you don't pay your bill off at the end of the month, you're paying 18, 19 whatever percent on there. That starts to add up. So credit cards can be deadly, that's for sure. But yeah, so let's pull that down. And I'm going to share, I think we have, let me, 1 second here. I'm just going to grab my headphones, because I think we got a visitor. We'll see if he's coming on. 1 sec here. Give me 2 minutes. I will be right back. Let me put... There's always lots to do here on live streams. Believe me. You need like a director with all these buttons to click on StreamYard. Let me tell you. Plus, I'm notorious for having so many windows open on my browser at one time. I could be better at that and more organized. And you get all your windows open on your computer at the same time, and then you don't know what you're doing. We'll see if he messages back. So if anybody has any questions, let me know how your portfolio, like, did anybody do any, I know I like to put it on my community tab all the time. Did anybody do any buying or anything like that yesterday or last couple of days? I'm trying, to dollar cost average into those VDY and VFE, but payday's coming up, so I haven't had a chance yet. But of course, it was green the last couple of days, so it's kind of nice. Maybe see it today coming down. There'll be a few people I know commenting. Bear Investor is one of them. Always like to grab them when they're in the red. So there'll probably be some people I think buying a few little things, something today. I'm sure on the with the market being down, with their ones that there's some convictions on. And if you weren't watching yesterday, I bought my first fractional share. We had the dividend from Telus come through when I was actually doing the live stream, and they convinced me to buy I obviously like to usually roll that dividend in and buy a whole share, but I was convinced to do it and just do it as a fractional share. So I now own 0.89 something new shares of Telus. So it was actually, that's something I think I'll continue on to doing. It's obviously pretty straightforward and simple to do with Wealthsimple to do that. But here we go. We got a comment. There we go. Welcome, Death King Simpson. I love these names sometimes. It's good. Hut 8 and Hive since November. Oh, okay. Yeah, a couple of the mining stocks. I haven't, obviously, you see my portfolio, so I haven't added those or have those in my anything. I'm kind of just focusing more on actual, well, not actual, but like the dividend, like a tongue twister. The Bitcoin yield ETF is the one that I'm kind of averaging cost into, and on via Shakepay I do a daily small reoccurring buy into dollar cost average into Bitcoin, and then I transferred off the exchange. Yeah, that's good. I think those will come back. This is like a long term. It's like a long-term investment. It's a good strategy to have a portion of your. I think don't take my advice, but I think for me it works to have a percentage in digital assets. You're crazy not to, I think. And thanks. Yeah, 1,000 subscribers. So if anybody's watching, the channel hit the 1,000 last week, which was nice, which is awesome. Not monetized yet. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. So I need to get those watch time hours. So keep watching those videos, I guess would be the best way to say, but slowly but surely, it's okay. It will happen when it happens and when it's meant to happen. So I just appreciate everybody that's been following along. It's kind of great to have the community. It's kind of, I've learned a lot, and I always kind of considered myself a kind of, I'm not an expert by any means, but I always considered myself, a bit more advanced than coming into this. But I've learned a lot just from everybody else, and learning from mistakes, and because I have never done a self, I've done investing before, but I've never done anything on my own. So by doing that, I've learned a lot. You lose money when you learn, but you learn from your mistakes, right? So, and it's been a lot of it's coming from other people, the comments, and just, it's great. It's a great community. So thanks. I do really appreciate that. It's been good. So we'll keep going. It's been fun. It's a fun journey to see your money grow, even if it's, it's down, but it's still growing, right? It's not, it eventually will be growing. So, there we go. Good morning, Jason. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I you know what, and Death King Simpson, I'm gonna laugh every time I say that. It's so good. These YouTube names, some of these comments, so good. It's funny. I'm trying to be with the channel. Investing can be really dry and boring too. Or on the flip side, I know if you're watching YouTube, it can be very like sensationalized and lots of clickbait and buy now, lots of garbage. There's very few on YouTube I wouldn't necessarily take any investment advice from people on YouTube, but it's nice to kind of come on and to see regular people that are trying to invest and learn and not chasing things and whatever else. So hopefully that makes sense. And it's okay. Now it makes sense. Call of Duty account. And so do you do streaming on your account? I'm gonna maybe guess gaming. It's funny. I'm not really a gamer, but I will play. What's it called? Forza Racing. I have an Xbox, and I always liked Forza, just to kind of take my mind off things. Sometimes I go play, but never streamed or anything like that. I was never very good. So that makes sense. But Call of Duty, I remember playing Call of Duty too, in like the old Xbox. Here I am in my 40s still playing games, but it's okay. It's good to take your mind off stuff. I don't have TV, so sometimes I'll just plug in the Xbox and play video games for an hour. It's good in the winter too. Genuine, yeah, there is, that's the thing. A lot of people are out there just to get the click, get the view, get the, emotion. I mean, good for them, sure. If you're running a channel that has, if that works for you, that works for you. But I don't. It's not my thing. I'm not trying to get people to invest in something. That'd be the worst thing for me. For people to do is follow. I don't want to say follow my, like, the worst thing to do is follow my advice. But I think if we can learn together, it's a bit better than, telling somebody to do something. Because if anybody was following what I was doing on my portfolio, if they're okay to be down, 16, 17, 18%. That's great. It's not ideal, but it's the way what I've chosen to do. Right. So obviously if you're choosing to do things too, and I think it works well, because I think people are seeing, and this is what I think people hopefully will appreciate, is like, you're not alone in terms of what's happening. Right. And I think I'm just kind of I'm like just a regular investor. I'm not doing anything crazy, right? I'm not investing on trying to do on leverage, and I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not day trading. I'm just just trying to build my my TFSA up for my retirement. So I think hopefully people will appreciate that, and people can learn, and at least if it can get a few people to possibly just start investing on something. And there's no bad. This is the thing. I mean, you get comments on the channel. You shouldn't have done this. You should have done. You shouldn't buy this. That you should sell this right away. And you wouldn't learn, right? And you wouldn't learn from mistakes. And if you have a conviction with what you're invested in long term, I don't think there's anything wrong with what anybody chooses. I mean, everybody wants to make money, but it doesn't happen overnight. So long term, I think, that's kind of my thoughts. So, and then, and sorry, I have to read your comment, because some of them don't all show up on the screen. So if my eyes are looking down, it's because I'm reading your comments on the side. The screen doesn't show the whole thing to everybody. So yeah, so do your own research, because it's so easy. It's easy to find information. It's not easy to do your own research. That takes time, but it's easy to find a lot of information and figure out stuff. So yeah, find the middle ground is basically, I'll read the rest because it doesn't go through. So this is a great comment. 100%. I think it's best to do your own due diligence. So what you can do is take from these channels is find the middle ground. Correct. Yeah. And then just kind of taking everybody's views, etc., on finding what's best for you. That's exactly it. That's the best. That's great advice, because you can learn a lot, right? And if it's something like for me, I mean, one example is, I invest in digital currency. You see on my portfolio is Bitcoin, but I also have like investments in Bitcoin, right? And some people think that's insane and crazy, but part of it for me is the technology behind it is interesting. I kind of, that's what kind of gets me interested sometimes with investments, or certain companies. CMC is one of the perfect examples. It's kind of the idea and the technology behind it to learn about. It doesn't always pay off, as you see, but the same. It goes the same with some of the digital currencies. Cryptocurrency is the Bitcoin, Lightning Network. The technology is kind of fascinating to me, and learning about it. It's easy for someone to say, don't invest in that. It's stupid. Okay, sure, fair enough. But if you're not learning about it, if there's no interest in it, that's okay. But it's not a bad investment. Like I don't, other than in my ETF, I don't invest in oil stocks. It's not because I don't like, I drive a car and everything else. It's just, I see other interests in other things. So, yeah, banks. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously I never like to say what gives advice, but, check out, if you want to own the individual stocks, Jason, yeah, that's great. But you can also, the reason I've never bought the individual bank stocks is because VDY is heavily weighted on bank and financials in Canada. So let me just actually check, because it's close to those. Because people have asked that question before. And let me just look and see. Okay, it's always on the very bottom. Financials is 53% of the fund, and if you actually, I'll just pull this up so we can actually obviously share it. I can kind of take a look. And let's pull this up. I hate these pop-ups all the time. So here we go, Jason. So VFE, as you can see here, this is kind of why I haven't done the individual bank stocks. It always scrolls up. Sorry, pain in the butt. So it's heavy on energy and heavy on financials, as you can see here. 53% financials, 27% energy, and then telecommunication. I guess that's Telus, BC. I'm going to assume BCE and stuff like that. But let's just scroll down. You can see the holding. So Royal Bank, so it's Royal Bank, 13%, TD 11.8%. And then we get the lower ones. Bank of Nova Scotia 6. So what other one did you have in there? You had banks, and then BMO 6%. So it's a little bit less on the percentages of your individual bank stocks, but it's pretty close, and it gets you a bit of, I don't know. I kind of think of a bit more diversification in certain other things, because I don't, like I said in before, I don't have individual oil company stocks. The way it's going, I probably should have, but it's always hindsight. I think that's kind of why I chose BDY, is because it covers the banking and it covers the energy. It probably does have some Telus, but I don't see it on there. It's in the top. You have to kind of go to all. It has to export it to a spreadsheet, so it doesn't show me. So this is basically the top the top 10. So banking, financial, and some energy, Suncor, Enbridge. So you're kind of covered, and it just makes it, for me, I chose that one. Makes it easier just to put money in one thing, and it pays the monthly dividends, and it's been fine. I liked it. And then VFE, I like VFE. It's close to about, I think it's close to about that percentage of in my portfolio as well, Jason. But yeah, I like those ones. I've been happy with them. And for what it's worth, no one's complained about me owning those on the channel for comments. So take that as you will. But that's yeah. The banks are always good. Oh, and I missed one from Kim. He does do a few videos. There you go. I'll have to check out your channel. I will check out your channel. There we go. Those are great questions. It's always interesting. It's always interesting to see what other people have in their portfolio and leave their comments, because it's reassuring sometimes to know if other people, you watch some other people and they have the same, same similar things in their portfolio. You're like, okay, I didn't make too bad of a mistake in picking this one. Especially with ETFs, because it's like, how many ETFs can they actually think of? Like, there's literally, there's 10 for everything. So it's like, what do you pick, right? And that's the hard part too. You look at all these ETFs, like, well, what's the difference between this and this? And I've just been happy with the Vanguard. They seem to be popular ones. I mean, it's kind of like going with the flow. If you actually look on Wealthsimple, you can actually look at some of the top. You can look at what the top stocks and ETF purchases are if you log into your app. Like right now, that will obviously, these can sometimes obviously change. There's no way to share this on the screen, but let me just log in so you kind of direct you into where to go. So if you go to Discover, and if you go to top 100 on trade, it will show you there will be ETFs mixed in there. So so you can look at the top, the top 100 are, and VFE actually, VFE Jason is actually number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is number 6. So obviously a lot of Canadians are choosing to invest in VFV. And then I'm just seeing if there's another ETF in the top 100. VOO. So that's the Vanguard S&P. That's the Vanguard S&P 500, but US dollars. So that's lower down, obviously. And then VDY is in there too, a bit farther down. So it's in the top 100. And this one we talked about actually on the last stream was the ZWC, which is the covered call Canadian ETF. There's some questions about that one. Check that one out maybe. And I think that's it. Yeah, there's the Vanguard All Equity one, VEQT. That one is like that one. I'd have to look at the holdings. That would be all the U.S. market, but almost like there's the one VTI, Vanguard Total. I forget what it stands for, Total Market Index or something like that. But there we go. And yeah, hey Mark, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Let me just click off that page so it doesn't freeze it. But those are some great, good choices. Jason, nothing wrong with those. You won't get flack for those. You won't get flack for those. You just get flack for putting penny stocks and digital currency in your TFSA. Although I don't think she's watching Candace. She'll be watching the replay. If I remember correctly, she has some BTC.Y in her. It's either in her TFSA or her RSP. So we'll see. But welcome, Mark. Thank you. First time comment. It's a few people I haven't. This is the best thing about live streams too, is people that join in sometimes haven't commented on a regular video. So it's great to meet new people, and because I know on things is like sometimes you lurk a lot, right? Where you won't necessarily comment on a video, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with not commenting on a video because you have nothing to say. There's no point in saying, hey, unless. But it's nice to jump on a live and just kind of shoot the shit, I guess would be the best way to say it, and just say hey. And it's nice because it's nice to see people joining in, supporting and following the channel. Glad you like it. And if you have this is the thing too, if you have questions or ideas or something that you'd like to see covered, I'm not going to do the big deep stock dives and that kind of stuff in a video. I find people will do a far better job at that than I ever than I ever would, but it's nice to come on here and just kind of chit chat and see how everybody's doing, because we're all we all have the same goal, you know, we all want to retire with a little bit of money, hopefully, and hopefully make a little bit on the way with our investments. I think everybody on the channel is pretty much in the same boat. We're not millionaires, and we're just slowly trying to build it up and trying to learn a little bit how to hopefully do that a little bit better. But yeah, appreciate it. We've got six people watching, so that's great. I think we're close to a record. If you haven't, it sounds so cheesy to say it, but if you haven't hit that like button yet, hit the like button. It does really help out the channel I'm watching. I do appreciate it. Even if you just got it on in the background, listening to see what's happening, it's always appreciated. I guess I'm wondering if people. It's always weird to come on because I'm in West Coast, and there's no real good time to schedule a live stream because you can never please everybody. I've tried to do a little poll and surveys and stuff on my channel, and it's like some people want to, when's the best time? It's like Friday at 5 o'clock because I'm at home and I'm off work, and it's like that's the last time I want to do a live stream because it's Friday and I'm off work and I don't want to do a live stream. So what I've kind of decided is I'm in the West Coast and I work from home, and I figure it's easy to get on before because I can have my coffee and just kind of have a chit chat. I can check what's happening in the market, come on before, and then before work starts, I can sign off and be good, and then I can still kind of record regular videos for the channel when I have time, and can post those anytime. So that's the thing about live streams. There's just no perfect time, not that. I like jumping on and everything else, but sometimes when you're done your day at work, the last thing you want to do is come on and start talking more. And yeah, no, I'm not. No, that's a good question though. But yeah, I think because you get the withholding tax, right? If it's a non-registered or a TFSA, it's probably worth it. The hard part, I guess, would be looking at if you have room in your. There's pros and cons of everything, right? If you have room in your RSP, then you're not going to lose the withholding tax, but then you're going to pay there's no taxes, right? There's no way of skirting them. So you're going to pay them. You're going to pay them now, or you're going to pay them later. So it's hard to say. I mean, that I guess you could look at too, though. If you look at it, a lot of the U.S. stocks are the growth stocks, though, right? Say you're buying Apple, you're buying Amazon. If you're anticipating on growth, even if you're, they're not necessarily paying a lot of. I mean, they pay dividends, but not a lot. I think Apple has started to pay a little bit of dividends, but they're obviously more growth. Maybe I think when I think U.S. stocks, you think more growth stocks, right? So then you're not paying the dividend tax coming out. But yeah, they get you one way or the other. So now it's hard to say. I guess everybody's a bit different with what works well. Because if you're making the gains, because yes, you could do it. I mean, I've debated buying some of the U.S. stocks in my TFSA, but I haven't yet. A lot of them are covered. A lot of the ones I would buy are covered anyways. They're in with BFE, so I just haven't. Oh, and so yeah, if the high dividend yield is worth it, okay, good. There you go, Justin. Yeah. Inquested stays in U.S. funds. Yeah, so Wealthsimple keeps it in U.S. funds now, would they not? If you have the U.S. account, if you pay for the extra, I could be wrong because I don't have the U.S. account in Wealthsimple. I could be very wrong. Maybe someone watching could clarify that has it. But yeah, it'd be better to keep it. It'd be better to keep it if you have it. If you're gonna buy U.S. funds and U.S. stocks in Wealthsimple, you should probably buy the U.S. account. Just pay the extra funds, extra money, because then you're not getting dinged with the exchange all the time. back and forth, and then exchanging it back, the dividend comes back to Canadian and back in like you always lose. Anytime you exchange something, you lose. So one-time conversion, yeah, exactly. You're just doing the one-time conversion up to US dollars. There you go. Instead of back and forth with different things. That will save you money. Do you have any Death King? Do you have any? Do you have the US? I'm going to assume you have it, and let me know what US stocks you have. And are they in your TFSA, or are they in a non-RSP, or are they non-registered? You might be able to help out Mark with that answer. I should actually as for having a channel about Wealthsimple, I should probably update to the US to try it, just to share that info. But anyways, buy the dip. There we go. Thanks, Mark. Take care. Thanks for joining in. That's great. AMC. Oh well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong. There's not. That's the thing. I won't. I never slag people for if I don't. You know what? I know. I kind of know the story with that one. But yeah, it is what it is, right? You learn from mistakes, or just hold it. Sometimes too. Like I've got a few of my portfolios. Just hang on to it. There's no point in selling sometimes. Some people may say differently, but I just kind of think if it's only worth 10, like my CMC is only worth, I think I put $175, $200. It's worth 10. It's like, what's the point? Might as well just kind of hang on to it and dream, and let it sit there and look at it and go, I won't make these same mistakes again. So it's like a reminder. It's a negative reminder that you're like, okay, I should never do that. But you never know. There's a good, there's that new show on Netflix was talking about the GameStop. Much the same idea. So if you have Netflix, check out that. There's a GameStop kind of documentary, few episodes, like a mini series documentary about what happened with GameStop, which was interesting because I actually know someone that made a lot of money on GameStop, a lot, and they did quite well. Yeah, so you never know. It could turn around. I find now it's sometimes better just to do the slow and steady. We'll see. And I say it once if I can make a good return on some of the BTC, like if those start to, those are ones I will definitely hold me to it, take profit on when I can, if it happens, and just cash it in. Yeah. It's just fun to buy. You know what though? I mean, it's the thing with buying these. It's fun to kind of see it too. If you're not, I mean, I don't want to know how much you put into it. That doesn't matter. But even if you're just putting a little bit, it's kind of fun just to kind of see what happens and just to kind of watch it. You know what goes on. Anyways. Yeah, so you'd save on that. Yeah, I should check that out. But there's not really anything. I mean, I know you can get a lot of the US stocks and CDRs and stuff too. So it's like I just haven't bothered. That's all. And the way the US dollar is right now, it's like if you've owned some US stocks that are, well, the problem is they're all down, but the US dollar is very strong right now. And I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't know if you were watching, but because I have the venture fund sitting in cash, and it's in the US, it's in the Purpose US Cash Savings ETF, and it's up, like, because the US dollar is so strong. So I bought into that about over 6 months ago. So that's the one thing I own that's actually making some money. It's just sitting there. So that's good. I said it yesterday, I'm thinking about possibly trying to convert, and because it hasn't been locked in, and it doesn't look like it's been locked in or anything yet. So I've thought about transferring some of the profit out and just firing it into my RSP. We'll see. I haven't done it yet, but that's the one thing about the Wealthsimple Invest side is it's not like instant, right? Like where if you have a TFSA, if you're trading, you can put it on the market and you can market sell it or whatever. It's typically hopefully going to sell for what, or the amount is going to sell for what you want it to do. So it's more liquid. Where I mean the invest side stuff is liquid as well, but it takes about a day or so. So it's not like instant off. So if you're looking like yesterday, the US dollar is back up, but yesterday the US dollar was down. So it's like, do I do it? You're like, because it's not instant, it's going to take another day to settle, and it's like, is it worth it? That's the whole other thing about the Wealthsimple Invest side and the side is meant definitely more for longer. When I say longer term, not like trading, more definitely longer term, but. Oh, you haven't looked? No, it's okay. If you don't want to look, you don't want to look. I sometimes don't want to look. It's almost, you can almost look too much, because that's what drives you crazy. Because you're like, if you're looking at it all the time. I mean, I think I do a bit more because this is the thing, because it's all on your phone. But it's also so easy to get information, but it's not necessarily good, because it goes back to the article I was sharing about in like 25% from this research. I don't know how many people they asked, but if 25% of Canadians are thinking about cashing in their investments, it's because they're looking at them too much, which is hard, because if you're looking at everything and it's like dropping. I mean, people seem to forget that in 2020, 2021, everybody was up like 25% on stuff. So we're just kind of giving that back hopefully the short term, to take advantage of dollar cost averaging, like we kind of talk about a lot. But it's so easy to get the information, right? Like it's all in your app. Instantly, you can look at how much you've lost or gained. But whereas before, when you had investments, you just got your quarterly statements. So you didn't have that shock until it was too late, right? Because you'd get your quarterly statement in the mail, it's already down, and you're already like, oh my goodness, because you're not necessarily paying attention. You're just putting it on automatic payments, and every 4 months you get something in the mail. You kind of look at it, and they put how much you're like, oh, it looks like it's less, and you got to kind of, if you're not organized, you got to go dig up somewhere where you saved the last one, and you're like, oh, it's down. Maybe I should sell it all. It's the worst thing to do. Be reactive like that. You get to be more active along the way. Yeah. Yeah. Tired of it. Yeah. It's been like a long grind. And in hindsight, you're like, oh, I could have just sold some then and bought it again now. Much like, look at Bitcoin. A lot of people bought it at 69,000, and here it is I mean, it's obviously it's down from its highs, but it's actually doing well considering like in September, it's basically it did better than the S&P in September. So take that for what it is. I don't know, but so it's interesting how it hasn't gone to it could be says goes to zero, but yeah, holding and averaging is the best thing to do. Everybody panic. This is the problem, right? We're not smart enough. I'm not. No one's. I don't want to say nobody, but I'm not smart enough to time. If my goal is for minimum 10 years, I'm not smart enough to time the top one to sell, or the bot, or do I, then you have to time it. So if I sold when thinking it's going to go down even more, right? Like right now, perfect example. Right now, if we think it's going to drop another 20%, how am I going to time the bottom now, or the top now, and then I have to time that first, and then I have to time buying it all again, and it's impossible. I don't know. It's possible for me, and I think most people, so large majority, like they'll panic, but they'll never buy it back in, and then you lose out on any, like for example, if it's dividends, if it's paying dividend stocks every month, you've missed out on all those. Do you buy back in 6 months? Do you buy back in a year? Do you never? Do you sell it and then you spend your money and go buy a new car? I don't know. Yeah, so you miss out on all that, but and I think that's true. The more as we get close, yeah, I think you can kind of see that. Yeah, yeah. And more and more people. That's what you read. It's interesting to see, I think, how much is impacted by like investors like us, right? Like retail investors, how much they've sold. And from what I'm reading, it's quite a bit, because it's probably money they shouldn't put in the first place, because they're trying to get the huge gains. But anyways, and that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So it's easier just to kind of not set it and forget it, but just stick with the plan and roll with it, and adjust as you go. But that's my kind of strategy, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Don't panic. That's a good way to look at it. Don't sweat it, or try not to. I guess just don't put anything into anything that you can't afford to, number one, lose, and number two, that you're going to need within 5 years at least, because it can be so, especially now, it's such a, I mean, we knew this for the last few years, like it just wasn't normal, right? So there's no point in trying to be smart, and trying to be too smart, especially with the way the world is going right now. I think is the best way to be. Just stick with your original kind of, don't panic. We'll get through it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully, and everything will pay off in the future. That's how I kind of like to look at it. We'll see. In the ideal world, everything will be up, but we'll see. And that's the thing. We had it really good for a long time. I guess we could have I want to get, I keep saying my buddy Rob, but my friend Rob, we have a lot of conversations, obviously, on the phone. I'm in the West Coast, he's back east, but we talk about recession. We talk about, and it'd be good to have another opinion on there, but we'll get some people on. Yeah, we've had it good for a long time. So let's not end the note on a bad note, though. Justin, let me see if I can find some good news that we will, because it's coming up on 9. So we will, let me see if I can find some decent news. If you own oil that is decent, let's just see here. Let's try and find some good news. Seems like news is always negative, right? So if anybody is watching and has some good news on something, let me know in the comments, and I'll try and search something too, if we can find some good news to end the show on. It's funny how it all shifts very quickly. I don't see any. Oh, there we go. There's some good news. It's 9 o'clock, and I have my phone beeps, and it's that reminder to, well, this is some good news. It reminds me to Shakepay at 9. So I'll do my shake. And today is day 300. I don't know if you can see that. It might not show up. So day 300 on Shake Street. There's good news for the day. Total stacks 225,500. If you don't have Shakepay, you should get Shakepay. So that's good. So FinVez, I will have to look at this. I've never heard of it. Oh, okay. Courses. Oh. I'm going to check that out. They have a news tab. Okay. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. FinVez. Start learning. This is like a training thing, but they must have a news tab. Okay, I'll check that out. Good call. That's some good news. Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, that's the way it works. That's the way it works. And it would be nice to have some cheaper gas and cheaper groceries. I don't drive much, so it doesn't. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I don't know how many people watching are still working from home or they have to commute, but I could not imagine paying and commuting a distance to work. You know, if you had to commute into the city every day, that would cost a lot. Especially if you have, like I was filling up. I just got a little car, a little Mazda, and you know, it's more to fill it up like everything else. But then I remember I was at the gas station because I had to go in and tap, and the person in front of me was like $200 on number, and you know, they had a big truck, and I'm like $200 probably doesn't even fill it. Here I am, I can usually fill up for 50. You know, if it's not full, like, or empty, it's like $50. I'm like, I could not imagine spending, you know, $200 a week on fuel to drive to work. Like, holy, especially with everything else, right? Groceries, gas, everything. Yeah. And so there we go. Let me just end this and thank everybody for joining. I'm going to check out FinViz. I'll put that on my tab right now. And it's 9 o'clock. It's time to go. It's time to work. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Death King, Justin. Yeah, much appreciated. We'll end it there. I got to get to work. Hope you have a good day. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it.